When most people think of coaching, they see a college coach on national TV at a press conference with $1 million salary cutting down nets. But that is not what coaching is all about. If you see coaching as landing on the mountaintop, it's unlikely you're ever going to get there. The unseen hours are the work that nobody sees. It's all the thinking and the planning, the conversations, the late nights after losses, building a team. It's not just the time coaching your team in a game. So if you're a coach trying to get better, build a stronger program, or just want to get more in control of your season, this is the work that actually moves the needle.
Welcome to The Hours. This is a podcast for coaches at all levels who want to think, teach, and lead better. I'm Mark Cascio, joined by Tyler Coston, and we call this The Hours because this is where we get to deep dive and have real conversations and spend real time on the things that actually matter. You can get the show notes and tools from today's episode in our weekly newsletter, so check out the link below. Let's get into this week's episode.
So we're going to talk about what coaches should actually do in the unseen hours.
And as we go through this list, you might find that there are some things that you're doing and doing them really well. You might also find that there's some things that you're not doing or that you have an opportunity to improve. So Tyler and I are going to popcorn some ideas back and forth on what goes on behind the scenes. And if there's some that we fail to mention, something that you're doing that we didn't mention, feel free to drop it in the comments below.
To all of our listeners, we actually have our VIP SAVI basketball members live backstage with us on this recording, and they're going to be helping us out by asking us questions similar to how you're asking questions in the comments. They'll help direct the conversations. So welcome to all of our SAVI basketball VIP members. Mark, let's dive in. When you first decided that you wanted to be a coach and you had dreams, what was your dream in coaching?
My dream was to go to the highest level possible that I could, and what I pictured myself as a Division I head coach.
Yeah, same here. I wanted to be coaching the NCAA tournament. I wanted to be the head coach. I wanted to win national championships, and I wanted to run a huge Division I program. That was my dream. That was my path, and so that directed all of my decisions as I started coaching. I started out as an assistant college coach, worked my way up the ladder. Got to be a head coach of a college team at a very young age of a small college team. Then got to the Division I level and worked my way up as a grad assistant and then third assistant, so on and so forth. And as I was working my way up, my dream changed. But I was on the path. That path, as you know, and for our listeners, maybe you don't know this, that path is really long, hard, for little to no pay. You're essentially doing slave labor for 8 to 10 years to hopefully build enough connections, relationships, and skills that you actually get your shot and you get hired. That's it. That's what you're signing up for. And so, that's just, that requires a lot of unseen hours as well. And I think what we're going to share today is if you go on that path and if you actually get your shot, what can you do to be ready when the time comes? Because oftentimes you're only going to get one chance at this thing. You're only going to get one moment where that person with the power to say yes to you and give you that head coaching job, you're only going to get a quick and brief moment to show your stuff in front of them. And so the unseen hours are how you get ready. Mark, how would you define unseen hours?
Yeah, I'm taking a little different approach here, which I think is good. You kind of can share the unseen hours to become that coach that you want to be.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of the unseen hours of like you are the coach
Mm,
and everybody else just thinks, oh, like you're a basketball coach, so you just, show up to games and coach or show up to practice and coach. But that's like the very top tip of the iceberg. So I want to just unpack and just share some things that it takes to lead a program that the common fan or even the novice coach or the person that wants to get into coaching might not realize what they're getting into.
I've had I think, a pretty unique experience in coaching in that my sampling and interaction with the sheer number of aspiring coaches has been much larger than most coaches experience. And really, I think the opportunity for me came through my years and years and years of work with PGC basketball, where I actually got to train up all of our summer coaches. And most coaches listening to this know that coaching summer camps are where young coaches go to cut their teeth. and learn and be trained. And so every year we would hire close to 500 young aspiring coaches. And I got to be involved in the hiring process and the training process for these 500 young aspiring coaches that had the same dream of, being a college coach. That's what most of them wanted to be. And so every single year, 500 new coaches, 500 new coaches. And I remember I said this thing to hundreds and hundreds and then thousands of young coaches. So you tell me that you want to coach, and then you behave this way. Their behavior, their actions were not in line with their aspirations, right? They would say they want to be a head coach and yet would show up late to staff meetings, right? They'd say they want to be a head coach, but then would not know the progressions we're going through in the gym. They'd say they want to be a head coach, but then they wouldn't be hustling in and out of the group huddles while the athletes were. They'd say they want to be a head coach, but they were sitting in the back row of film sessions in class on their phone. All of these things were disqualifiers. And so I think like the first thing that I want to say is like act as if. My very first coaching experience was doing personal training with two freshman boys in a gym on a Sunday afternoon. That was like when I first decided that I want to coach. I didn't have a team to coach. I didn't. No one had ever paid me to coach. I'd never coached anywhere before, and I just reached out to two kids that I'd seen at a pickup game, open gym that I was playing. I said, "Hey, come back Sunday afternoon to this gym. I'm going to make you better." And I learned so much just from that experience because I showed up 30 minutes before. I swept the floor. I had spent 2 hours on my training plan. I had right, I'd played pickup with them, so I had a plan for each of them, right? I knew what we were gonna train. I had homework already assigned for them, and so I decided I'm gonna act as if I'm a Division One head coach right now. And so I think that's like we've all heard this like, be where your feet are, or, the best coaching job you can have is where you're at right now. But I think that acting as if you are already that coach you aspire to be, no matter if you're coaching junior high, fifth grade, freshman, whatever, like show up with professionalism as you are right now. Otherwise, it's going to disqualify you with the person that has the power to say yes.
Yeah, that's really good. All right, I'm going to take a very similar approach here. So you said just like do the little things, and one of the best things that I experienced early in my coaching career is discovering Don Meyer, who is just one of the best coaches that few coaches, I guess, today have heard of. The real ones know. But also being able to build a relationship with him. He was just one of the great sharers of the game, and he loved to develop coaches. And I often heard him talk about sucking scum. And if you want to be a head coach or you want to be a good coach, you got to suck scum. So, as a 21-year-old, or really a 19-year-old high school assistant, that's the approach that I took. So, whenever the head coach said, "Hey, will somebody go grab the towels from the laundry room?" Instead of being like, somebody else want to volunteer to do that? I was like, "Yep, I'll do it." That's kind of how I built my work ethic. Like one of the things I owe to basketball is teaching me how to be a worker. So, ways that I sucked scum and would continue to suck scum in the coaching world is sweeping the floor, doing laundry, filling up water coolers, improving the facility. So my first head coaching job, I say I completely,
Royal we.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, the royal we, I completely renovated our locker room, like painted the floors like a concrete floor, painted it. Me and the AD actually helped me build a wall because we had this like huge room that was being underutilized. So we built a locker room. I painted it myself. I sanded, or they call it screening, the gym floor and refinished it myself. And then I painted the entire gym by myself. Rented a scissor lift, and yeah, I mean, look, and we went from the year before I got there, they had 0 wins. First year we won 8 games, next year we won like 14, next year we won 16. And then I got a pretty dang good job after that where we ended up winning a state title. And if I wasn't sucking scum before that, I don't think I would have been ready for that. And then when I went to that program, we sucked scum all over again. We renovated the coach's office, we renovated the locker room, we did everything that we could to improve our facilities and make our program the big time instead of waiting for me to get a quote unquote big time job to have the big time facilities or rewards.
Yeah. It's so funny. I've built 2 gyms in my life, which is yeah, I mean, you talk about building like, that's exactly what it is. You need gym space, you just go build it. And really, I think it's an approach, right? It's not like, "Oh, the only way to become a great coach is to go, renovate a locker room." Okay, no, maybe. But it's an approach, and I think, like, the approach that we've shared a lot on here is how you do anything is how you'll do everything. How you approach sweeping the floor or renovating a locker room is also how you will prepare for your next opponent, is also how you will improve yourself in the offseason, also the amount of care and attention, effort you'll give in your player development. I think that like that it's just an approach, and whether you call it unseen hours, sucking scum, or the big times where you're at. That's exactly what we're talking about.
10 seconds here. I was looking at our YouTube analytics, and 64% of the people that listen to the podcast are not subscribed. So
What?
if that's you,
That's
it's a big
heartbreaking.
help. Yeah, I know. We're here every week for you. Just hit that button for
Just
us
hit
real fast.
subscribe. It's just like, you look at whatever it is you look at. I don't know to measure it, right? We're like, oh, are we doing anything good here? Or do people like the hours? Are they listening? And we look at subscribers, and it's like the more subscribers, like, okay, there's more people we're serving. So throw us a bone. Okay, I want to throw this in there. So you talked about this approach of sucking scum. And I was listening to a debate, Jay Billis, Coach Calipari, Jason Williams. I can't remember the other two hosts that were on there. Maybe Fran Fraschilla was on the panel. I'm not sure. They were talking about NIL and the professionalization of college sports around men's basketball right now, right? And Coach Cal made a really interesting point that I think is training so many high level college men's basketball players and some women as well to not suck scum. And the point that he made is you have a lot of Division One men's basketball players that are making a $500,000 a year, $500,000 a year to play college basketball. And then maybe they're done. They don't, play pro. That's a lot of them, right? Or they don't make it or they get injured, whatever. And they leave. And they may or may not have a degree, but then they go to get a job in the world, an entry level job, and they're offered $60,000 a year to go and work a job that is way less fun, that you actually have to show up and work for 8 hours a day doing something you don't love, right? And then they're like, oh, yeah. And so, like, will I get housing? Will I have a car? Um, how about my meals? What's the meal plan like? And like any employer is like, you're crazy. And so they're like, why would I take this? I mean, I've been naturalized to expect this whole other lifestyle. And so like his point was in the NIL conversation is like, hey, it's a reality. But he said it actually isn't training these young men to enter the real world because the expectations they have are so unrealistic. And so I thought that was really good. I think like there's even beyond NIL. I've noticed this, and I think every generation has said this about kids these days. They don't walk uphill in the snow both ways to and from school like we did. But I mean, I think we've all noticed that this next generation, just because of the use of technology and the access to all information, right, and how inexpensive entertainment is. You can just go on your phone and be infinitely entertained for pennies, right? That sucking scum and having that approach is probably the most important lesson that we can teach young athletes in sport, because they aren't learning it anywhere else in life.
I wish my first job would have paid me $60,000 out of
Come
college.
on, right?
I think
A
mine was half
coaching
of that.
job, you're actually, like, paying to go
Yeah.
coach in your first coaching job. Speaking of sucking scum, we have one of our Dave Roman, one of our SAVI coaching members shared he's been coaching for 29 years, and he's still sucking scum, and that's why you're great, and that's why you're here getting better, so I love it, Dave. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, welcome to a couple of our new, SAVI coaching VIPs as well. Alright, March, let's flip to you for the next one.
Yeah, I've got a little list here. I just categorize these as like team development. So I'm a coach. What am I doing that people aren't seeing to develop my team? The first one that came to mind was your mind. Like the mental energy that it takes to lead a program is infinite. I mean, there's not a second that you shouldn't be thinking about your program. Maybe that's an unhealthy approach. Maybe I shouldn't say you shouldn't. It just consumes you. Your drive home from practice, you're thinking about practice. When you're in the shower, you're thinking about tomorrow's practice. When you're in bed, you're thinking about the mistake you made at practice, how practice could have been better, or how your best player is just not as bought in as you wish they were, or how you let this standard slip. Whatever it is, it's like it's just so hard to turn it off, and people don't see that because most fans, even I would say most players, depending on level, when they're not in the gym, they're able to turn it off. Okay, so the mental energy. Another one is practice planning. I took a ton of pride in planning practices and being really intentional and even laying out the entire week. Like I think if you're a coach that's doing it right, on Sunday, you're looking Monday to Saturday and you're saying, okay, if Saturday is where we want to get to here, then let's backtrack and intentionally build that plan so we don't get to Friday and we're like, oh, we haven't done this, this, and this yet. We got to cram it in practice. Watching film, whether that's practice film, game film, preparing your scouts, that's something, especially at the highest level. Like you mentioned, your coaching journey. I've been at the high school level, been at the college level. You know, one of the hardest things that people don't see. In fact, I had a conversation with a coach yesterday. He is in a unique position. He is a college head coach and he's a SAVI coach. I'm not going to say his name, but he was up for three jobs, two of which had given him an offer. And he called me late last night. He had to call his AD and give him a decision.
Hmm,
And we were bouncing the D3 head coach versus the assistant Division 1 coach, and we were weighing that. The third opportunity was a Division 2 head coach, so we were just all over the map here.
mhm,
And as a D1 assistant, what you don't see is your typical day is get to the office, you're working on your scout, you might be driving a golf cart around campus, making sure kids are in class. You might be picking kids up and bringing them to class. You might be picking a kid up from class, bring them to the facility so you can watch individual film with them and then take them into the facility and get a individual workout in. And then you go back, you do your practice prep, you've got a meeting before practice, then you go to practice, and then after practice, you're cutting up that practice film and then you're going home and hopefully being a dad or a husband or whatever you are at home, and then working on your scout late night because it might be Tuesday, but you got the Saturday scout and you got to have it done by Thursday or whatever it is. So all of those things are team development that I would say very few people know unless you've lived it.
yeah, agreed. When you think of a master coach or just like better coaches versus worse ones, what is one of the most common things that worse coaches lack that better coaches have? No context. I know this is a very general one. I'm just very curious.
Yeah, I mean, first thing that comes to mind is just organization.
Okay. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Um, the first one that came to mind for me was just the lens. The great coaches, they can look at a player move for 10 seconds and know exactly what that player can do. What their upside is, like recruiting actually isn't very hard. And here's what consistently shocks me in conversations with, I would say, amateur coaches. We'll watch a player and their what they choose to coach the player on is not at all what I would choose to coach the player on. Right? Like, they just don't have the eye, I'm gonna call it the lens, right? I'd say that for me, like, when you're actually doing the coaching, when you're on court coaching players, it's just the lens. I mean, there was a yeah, I won't even go into details and specifics, like, it's just numerous. Or they'll be like, "Oh, yeah, I think that this player is good." I'm like, "What? No, this player is so much better than them. How could you even think that that player is good?" Like, do you even see, like, how slow they are to react to the ball moving? Like, do you even see that, like, they lack complete awareness of help side defense? Like, do you even see that there's no way that they'll ever make threes, by the way that they're shooting? Would you agree that that is another thing that's a big difference between
100%.
okay. Right. And then there's a whole so like that's the player development lens. Then there's a whole nother thing for like the team lens, which I actually think is harder. I think that the player development lens usually is developed first, not always, but usually developed first. And then there's the team development lens, which I think is harder just because there's more factors involved, right? How does one develop their lens?
All right, two quick things come to mind.
Okay.
First is I think I'll go with the simplicity piece, right? Can we eliminate things that don't matter? Can we eliminate things that don't fit? Because then I think things become clearer. The second thing would be if you've done that, if you've done number one and you have a very clear identity, your style of play, or just player development system of what you want your players or what do good players in your system look like and do, then I think it's time. Just so much of like when I think of us, like I think I've always called it the trained eye is what you're calling like the lens.
Hmm.
And two coaches can look at the same possession or the same player, like you said, and see completely different things, or one coach might see more things than the other coach. And I think it's just time being in it where that's kind of the expertise. Like the hallmark of an expert is to be able to look at something and see what somebody else doesn't. And I think just time in it, the more you teach it, the more you expose yourself to the concepts, they just become more familiar with you and you can recall them faster.
Agreed. Everything just comes down to time. Like this podcast is called The Hours because it takes time. This episode is called The Unseen Hours because the time it's going to take you, you will only do alone. You cannot do the time in a public place and do enough time. It's just like shooting, right? I have so much respect for athletes that have become great shooters because there's only one way to become a great shooter. A great shooter is to spend more time shooting than everyone else. That's the only way to do it.
I thought you were going to say submit shot breakdowns for
Yeah.
you to for you to break
No,
down
a shot breakdown is useless
if you're not
if
going to spend time on it. Yeah,
if you're not gonna
yeah.
it's just useless, right? It may actually even hurt you. It may a shot breakdown or any feedback on your shot could actually hurt a player. No, I won't say actually, will hurt a player if they're not gonna do the work because they've spent, let's call it 10,000 hours doing a certain thing, and they've built up an ability. I don't like the term muscle memory. They've built up an ability, a habit doing a certain way.
Muscle memory is not a thing. It's not a real
Yeah,
thing.
muscles don't have
Yeah,
memory, okay.
yeah. Muscles
Um,
don't have a brain. Yeah,
yeah, so they built up so much time doing things a certain way, and then all of a sudden you say, "Do this thing a different way," and they try it once, and it sucks because they've tried it once, and now they're conflicted, and they're worse, right? Because they're not committed to the process. So, I got so much if you can be a great shooter, you can be great at anything. I would hire a great shooter to do any job because you will go and do the work and learn. How do you develop a coach's eye? And I don't want to disqualify any coaches here, but I am going to say something that may be a little bit of a hot take and controversial. You ready for this, Mark?
can't wait.
If you can guess what I'm about to say, I'll send you $100 of Bitcoin right now. That's a little bit controversial.
Oh, it's man, I got nothing.
We have a couple of coaches in the chat want the $100 of Bitcoin. They're throwing some guesses in there. Go ahead and throw your guesses in there in our private chat from our VIP coaches. We got talent. We got not sleeping. Okay. I'm not giving away Bitcoin for that, even though talent is somewhat close. Right here it is. Having played basketball at a really high level,
Yeah,
like that's it, it honestly is a cheat code. Okay, why is it a cheat code though? Because we all know that maybe we don't all know this. Just being a great player does not make you a great coach. Maybe we don't all know this. Absolutely not. But having played at a high level guarantees one thing: you have spent time mastering your craft. And you can tell just by the way they move or pass or catch the ball or when they demonstrate a shot. You can just tell right away if they played at a high level or not, like in a second, right? Um, and if they didn't, I just know that they didn't spend all of those hours mastering the craft, having walked the path to tell a player this is exactly what you need to do. There, it makes them for sure absolutely like if they've played at the professional or like top college level, for sure you're going to be one of the best player development coaches. You're just there because you know exactly what it needs to be done for sure. Now, the ability to teach and shape a learning environment and be a great leader and develop a culture and be a great team coach. No, you don't have those things, but you do have these things. And it's not just relationships that are why most professional coaches are ex-professional players, it's not just because of relationships, okay? It's because they've done the work, they have the credibility, they have the respect, and it's a very elite crew. So I'm gonna put that in this bucket of doing the work. You can do the work to have gotten to a certain place as a player, and you can do the work as a coach, but a lot of us are starting late if we just start to do the work as a coach when we haven't done the work from the ages of 12 through 28 to, like, be one of the best players in the world. Okay, respond to that hot take and tell me how I'm offending people.
Yeah, no, I would say there what bothers me is when players that played at a high level think they can coach at a high level or get jobs because they did play at a high level. Because I it definitely gives you a head start,
It
but
definitely gives you a head start.
yeah, and I'm not gonna name names because, like, none are coming to mind right now, but I'm picturing
Okay,
some.
let me ask you this. Do you think Steve Nash was a good head coach?
Was he a head coach? Oh, he was a head coach for the Brooklyn Nets. No.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
I
mean,
don't I
it's
mean,
still I mean, we know that the team was not successful,
the
right?
results say no, but I didn't see the unseen hours. He might have been doing everything
Yeah.
perfect, you know?
Right. Yeah, no, exactly, I don't know. And, I
Yeah.
mean, Steph Curry has said a lot of, really complimentary things about Steve Nash as a coach, how much he's helped him when he was a special assistant for the Golden State Warriors. Um, it's really hard to go quickly. We saw it with Jason Kidd as well. It's really hard to go quickly from being a elite player into head coaching immediately without doing the additional unseen hours of sucking scum as an assistant. Jason Kidd is now a much better, in my opinion, a much better coach than he was when he was a head coach with the Brooklyn Nets because I think he just went there too quick. But both of them, I think, have all of the tools necessary to be excellent head coaches. You're looking at some stats. What do you got?
I have an apology to make.
Okay.
Larry Bird, if you listen to the podcast, I was gonna ask, do you think Larry Bird was a good head coach? And I for some reason, my memory was like he sucked, but
No, they made like the Eastern Conference Finals, didn't
I
they?
know, I just Googled in, 1997 to 2000, he was the Pacers head coach. He was 147 and 67. 3 consecutive Eastern Conference Finals appearances. I don't know why in my head I was like, "Oh, Larry Bird sucked as the head coach of the Pacers."
Yeah, maybe it's because he hated doing it. I mean, I remember him commenting on that. He's like, "Ah, I don't really wanna do
Yeah.
this." Yeah, no, it's interesting. I mean, if someone gets to a high level of as a player, they have shown the ability to put in the work and do the unseen hours. That's what I'm saying,
For the most part, and I would
for the
you could
most part.
argue, yes, some people are
Yeah.
just uber talented and got there and didn't really work very hard, but their career was probably very
And
short-lived.
and and those people don't even wanna be head
They
coaches.
don't wanna get into
Like,
coaching.
I
Yeah.
mean, you know who's not gonna be a coach is DeAndre Ayton. Sorry,
Yeah.
dominating. You're not gonna be head you know who's not gonna be head coach is, Robert Swift. I'm just thinking of, like,
Ro
these kids
Roberts.
jumping.
Man, he's just catching a stray from, like, what is that, like, early 2000s?
He was drafted right out of high school. I mean, just, like, ridiculous physical gifts, 7 whatever, you know what I mean? But, like, I've never seen the ridiculously physically talented, player that has turned into the coach. They've all been the grinders, like the
Yeah.
workers, and which is another reason why many head coaches a higher tell me if I'm wrong on this perception. My perception is that there is a higher percentage of ex point guards that become head coaches than ex centers.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think, I'm gonna say 2 reasons why. Let me know if what you think of this.
Yeah.
Number 1 is because the position they play, like, you could argue that they have to think the game a little bit more than the post players, but I actually think that could be a correlation. I think maybe the most important reason is that if you're, like, 6'1", 6'2", 6'3", you probably have to work way harder
You have the most
to be a.
competition.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you're a 7-footer, if you have some kinda coordination, you're probably a Division I player and can play overseas at least. If I was 7 foot, I'd be an NBA All-Star probably, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we know it. Alright, we got some good, counterpoints. We've got Juwan Howard and Dusty May. It's
Yep.
good. I think,
If Jawan
Fred
Howard didn't
Fred
play at
Hoiberg,
Michigan, would he have been the head coach at Michigan ever?
no chance.
Like, that's the part where I'm just like, "Eh." I just alright, and then somebody else said Penny Hardaway at Memphis, like, I'd say they're underperforming for what they hired Penny Hardaway for, and Penny Hardaway, dog. like
Dog.
really, really good player,
Yeah.
like
And
underrated good player.
right. And all of these people that are underperforming are still in the top 0.5% of coaches.
Yeah,
All these people that are underperforming could probably go into local high school and win a state championship next year, right? So it's underperforming at what level as well,
yeah.
right? So,
All right,
yeah,
let me pivot here.
okay,
My first kind of category that I rattled some off of the unseen hours was team development. I'm going program development here. I'll just read a
okay,
few off. Number one, building a culture. I think that is I'm just going back to my journey as a head coach. I didn't really know what building a culture was or establishing standards and expectations and holding players and a staff to that standard. Like that probably consumes more of your it should consume more of your time and energy than the X's and O's, or maybe you could argue it's like a 50-50 thing. But I know for me, even when I was sucking scum, I was trying to build culture probably, but like in August and September. And then when basketball started, it was like, hey, we're gonna practice really hard and hopefully go win some games. So that would be a huge one. Meetings with players, with parents, with staff, with admin. A lot of coaches are teachers. A lot of coaches have 9 to 5s and they go coach basketball outside of their 9 to 5. So just your normal day to day. You mentioned recruiting when you talk player development, recruiting and roster management. That is a bear. Um, Here are the unseen hours that you don't see in recruiting. I mean, you're in your office, you close the door, and you're on the phone for 2 hours, or watching some film for 2 hours, and then when you go home. So some of the rules, and I don't know if the rules have changed since I've been in it, but with underclassmen, you couldn't call them, but they could call you, but you could text them. So you'd text them and say, "Hey, can we talk on the phone this week?" And they would say, "Yeah, I'll call you Wednesday night at 7." So the unseen hours is you telling your family, "Hey, we can't eat dinner at 7, or y'all eat dinner without me. I'm going to be in the office on the phone, or I'm going to be outside on the patio." And the unseen hours a lot of times are those conversations, but a lot of them are waiting by your phone and that recruit never calls. So that's probably unseen hours of recruiting. Also on the road, I mean, it is I remember flying to Chicago, renting a car, driving to Indianapolis, hopping on a flight, going, to one other city, renting a car there. And then I remember going to the hotel desk. I think I'd locked myself out of the room. And I'm in like my third city in 4 days, 5 days. And the lady says, "What room number are you in?" And I'm like,
I don't
I couldn't tell you.
know.
And then I followed up with, "What city am I in?" It's
Yeah,
like, "Sir, you're in Indianapolis." I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, I couldn't tell you what hotel room I'm in. This is like my 3rd hotel room in 3 days." So, and then other ones, administrative work, planning your travel, scheduling, paperwork, making sure all your players have their physicals, grade checks, connecting with alumni, ordering equipment, developing your youth program, community outreach, whether it's either, to just promote your program, to fundraise, which if you're fundraising probably means you're managing your budget. And then depending on what level, media responsibilities. So all of those things like go into building a program, and no one's thinking about the time commitment that makes. I mean, there's a lot of times where as a coach, you're like, "Oh, I get to do basketball right now. Like this is really fun," because you're doing all kinds of other stuff that just no one's thinking about.
yeah. You just named why I got out of college coaching.
Yeah, the question I get a lot is, "Do you miss it?" And I give the same answer every time: is the things I don't miss outweigh the things that I do miss. Like, do I miss coaching? Absolutely, every day. But there's a long list of things that I just rattled off that I don't miss. Now, could I get juiced up and do it for a short amount of time? Yeah. Like
Mhm.
I'd love to go to Tournament of Champions again in Chicago and just sit in the gym and watch basketball all day and try to identify some talent. But to do that on top of everything else that you're doing and being away from your family, that stuff is right now. If you're asking take it or leave it, I'm leaving it.
Okay, what would get you to take it?
It's a good question. I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't. Like, okay, I'm gonna read a text from my daughter. So we're in Baton Rouge. We're big LSU fans, and they have some turnover actually on the men's staff and the women's staff. But my daughter sent me this text. The coach who they hired to replace Reedus just took a head coaching job to some other school. It's your time to shine. text Kim Mulkey. And to which
I
I
love
responded,
that.
"No."
Oh, I love
Um,
that.
so a lot of people ask like, "Oh man, you should try to go do this. You should try to go do that." And that's honestly one of the things that got me out of coaching is I had coaches reach out and say, "Hey, this job's coming open. I know the associate AD there. You want me to reach out?"
Mhm.
And my answer was no. So I'm like, "Well, all right, well that's telling me a lot about where I'm going in my coaching journey." So just pivoted and decided to coach coaches.
Yeah. No, that's good. If I didn't have to move, if there was a college job here in Phoenix and I could guarantee I could get my all-star staff all to move to Phoenix to coach with me, of which you would be on, then I would do it for a year or 2 and document the entire thing, and, that'd be fun.
All right, what's my role on the staff?
Sucking scum.
Yes, I'm good at that.
Yes.
Can I please be in charge of painting the locker room because I'm really good at that. We have the best looking locker
Uh,
room in the league.
would you rather coach Grand Canyon University or Arizona State?
I think today I would have to go Arizona. Well, I don't know. I mean, do you have the better chance to flip it and win right away? I think Arizona State.
Yeah,
Give if you have the resources, which we wouldn't go if we didn't.
yeah.
But again, going back to that conversation with the coach, my advice to him was actually, man, just like being your consultant for 3 years, what I know of you, you're more wired to coach the Division 1 level.
Yeah.
He's just more of like, let's get in, let's do the work, let's get it done. I don't think that plays as well at lower levels. I know Grand Canyon's not Division 3, which is the other, but like I just told him like, man, you're a guy that wants to get in and like you're impatient with the results. The D3 is going to be a 3 to 4 year build. Division 1, you can flip it in 3 to 4 months.
Would we coach guys or girls?
I'd go guys just as a change up. I've done the Division 1 women's side. I'd want to experience from the men's side.
Yeah. Would we build through the portal or high schoolers?
You gotta go to the portal. I'd love to be the other way around and recruit high school players and develop them. Here's the thing. Here's the reality that might be unseen is yeah, you can recruit that player and say, all right, he or she can play for us one day. They've got a ton of potential. They're good enough. That's kind of one of our rating systems that we use at App State was good enough or not good enough. The problem is you can spend a year or two developing that player. If they don't play, they're going to leave anyway. So there's no point in recruiting the player. And that's where high school athletes are missing.
If they don't play, they're gonna leave,
That's
and
what
if
I'm
they
saying.
and if they do play, they're gonna leave.
They might leave,
Yeah,
yes.
I mean I
Unless you're
mean
at Arizona State, which is why I would pick that. Because if you are at Grand Canyon and they play and they're really, really good, there is a good chance that they will leave.
yeah,
And maybe even if you're doing everything right, like your culture can be right, you could have a really strong relationship with the kid, but if
mhm.
they're gonna go make $250,000 and you're paying them $20,000, I mean,
Okay, you've
there's
got a
no
strong
argument.
relationship with the kid, and you develop them, and you guys love each other, and they tear it up, national player of the year at the mid-major level. You're paying them $20,000, and they get an offer for $250,000, and they say, "Coach, what do I do? I'll do whatever you tell me to do." What do you tell them to do?
I say, um, we love each other. We have a strong relationship. You've got to do what's best for me, and you've got to stay. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, that's like you got to tell them like, hey, if you're going to be a first round draft pick, you got to go. In football, like basketball, obviously, like basketball, 2 rounds. If you're going to be a second round draft pick, you stay. If you're going to be first, you go. So obviously, you have to tell them to do what's best for them. But that's hard. Even I was telling this to somebody the other day. We were talking about offense, 4 out, 5 out. How do you blend those things? At App State, 2021, we had a stretch four that kind of played our five, and she had an unbelievable year. Was the newcomer of the year, and guess what? She transferred to the Big East. So it's just now, did she help us win games? Absolutely. If she would have stayed, would we have won a ton more games the next year? Absolutely. But you also can't argue if somebody wants to go level up. That is what the portal does. Is I think it puts everybody where they probably should be.
Let's move on to the finish here. Final chapter. I think Mark and I have a little different take on this, but what is the one uncommon intangible trait that can help separate you as a coach. It's often unseen, but help you become the coach you want to be and get the job you want. You want to go first on this one? Or you want me to go?
You go first because I know you have something in mind. I don't want to say the same thing as you. I want to try to come up with something different.
Okay. Um, people like people that like them. And I learned this at a very young age. One thing that my parents imparted to me as a core value is to be a room lifter. That when you walk into a room, everyone feels happier. They feel liked. They feel complimented. That you can do it with your smile. You can do it with your energy. You can do it with your words. And whenever I didn't do that from a very young age, I was corrected. And whenever I did do that from a very young age, I was celebrated. And so it shifted my personality and my values to being a room lifter. And having gone through life with that being a core value, I am looking back and I've had so many more opportunities that just based on skill set or whatever qualities I possess, I actually probably shouldn't have gotten that I was just given because people liked me. They just like being around me. It's like, okay, maybe this person's more qualified, but I really like you. Well, maybe this person over here is a little better shooter, but I'm going to pass you the ball, Tyler, because I really like you. Well, maybe this person should be, the starter, but I really like you. Being likable is a cheat code. And if you can lift the room and give people compliments, consistent compliments, I did it last night after pickleball. We were done. We were grabbing a quick snack after pickleball last night and we're sitting around the table. There's like, 8 pickleball players. And I started complimenting people on their games. Right. And as we're leaving, this other person's like, hey, you want to come play this other game with me tomorrow? And it wasn't because of my great pickleball play. It's just like, this guy likes me. He thinks I'm good at pickleball. I want him around more. So, I mean, I just think it's an absolute cheat code. And I would encourage everyone to continue to instill that in the people you get to lead. Is that where you're going with it or no?
I was gonna go with make people feel important.
Yeah.
And which I think is right on point. It's definitely not it's more of an addition to how to make people like you is make them feel like they're important, which people are important. If you're a coach, you're coaching people first and basketball players second. And then I think that's how you show that you care about them outside of basketball. So
Yeah.
if you develop your players as people, they will automatically be a better basketball player, like you said. Why is that player a good shooter? Because he's developed a work ethic or she's developed a work ethic and they know how to work hard. They know how to commit to a process and that's going to carry them beyond the 4 years that they play for you. This is good. This is the unseen hours. If we miss something, or if there's something that you're missing, if you haven't thought about some of these things, or some of these things are an opportunity, drop them in the comments below. If you want to go deeper, if you have questions on anything, if we can serve you and help you with your unseen hours, check us out at SAVI Basketball. We have a membership where we serve our members. We want you to be a member because that is how we can help you. That's how we can connect and build a personal relationship with you and make you feel important. And we'll like you, so you'll like us. All right.
I like that. Stay savvy.
Yeah, backstage members. Appreciate y'all being here. We are out. Stay savvy.